We're brothers. We're happy and we're singing and we're colored. Give me a high five.
What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Joe Castro here with my guy Big Game James, as always, and it is another episode of Best of Enemies. So last week we found out that the Eagles are going to win the division. That's
Yeah,
what
sure.
you know.
Yeah, we found out Joe Castro was absolutely crazy.
Yeah, 14.
And
I'm still getting
and
messages.
everybody said you're crazy. I
Yeah.
posted that on my page, and we had like 400 comments, dog.
Yeah, hey, I'm still getting messages about it. Looking back, I stand behind that we can win those games. I do think that we can win those games. But realistically, is 14 real? No, probably not. I'm more around the 10 to 12. I had Bo Wolf on like a couple days after, and I told him about it, and he was like 14, Joe? 14, really? So trust me. I'm saying? Reporters are giving it to me. I'm getting a bunch of messages. So it is what it is.
Yeah, but I appreciate 14, I appreciate you standing by it, because if that's you do get it, you will feel great about it.
Yeah, exactly. If we hit 14, all these people better come, say sorry, because that's all I'm saying. But last week we went over, obviously the whole NFC East, talking about the standings and everything. So this week, a lot of you guys were asking in the comments last week for us to rank our cornerbacks, right? We got into a little bit of a scuffle, a verbal scuffle on here about our feelings about the cornerbacks. And so this week we're going to rank our cornerbacks. Now, before we get into anything, before we actually get into the list, which I kind of want to hop right into, but what was your criteria? What was, we're going over the top 10. Obviously, it's not just NFC East. It's not just, the Cowboys versus Eagles players. What was your criteria of putting these guys in your top 10?
Well, for me, I'm not going to really put it in any kind of order of the criteria. But for me, I definitely look at pass defense. That means you're getting your hands on the ball, knocking the ball down. I do definitely look at pass defense, because even though you're not getting your interceptions, you're sticky enough in coverage to knock that ball down. That's usually you're stopping possessions. Also, interceptions. I mean, that's what you play the game for. You want to have a sticky corner, but you want to play making. You want to be able to give your offense opportunities. And when you have a cornerback that can take the ball away consistently, that's a huge thing for the whole team, the defense, the offense. So interceptions are high for me. And then also, I like to also see, you might get these great ratings against quarterbacks, but I like to see when you win against the elite quarterbacks, how did you play against them? So that's another little parameter right there, what I look at. Like, yeah, you might have been shutting people down, but what was those quarterbacks you were playing against? Let's make sure we keep that in mind. And then also, yards given up, and I know everybody going to jump on me with Trevin. Yards given up, is a thing, because, if guys are getting 100 yards a game on you, or 98 and 84 and consistently, that's not a good thing. You know what I mean? That you want to be able to keep these guys down. And then also the yards per game average, I keep my eye on that. If it's a low average, that tells me that it's really hard to get passes against. So I keep that in mind as well. So those are some of the few things that I kind of really look at when I'm looking at a corner, how he really jumps in my top 10 for me.
Yeah, I respect that. Yeah, and this is going to be fun, just mainly because we have a lot of the same names. I think we have 9 of the same names, a lot of them different spots. And I think one player that is going to be very interesting for us to talk to, obviously outside of your top 10 that was inside of mine, one player in yours that was outside of mine. So we'll get to that and everything. But final question I do have, before we get into this top 10, is there anybody outside of the guy that we both know, right, that we both know we're going to talk about, outside of him? I don't want to give away cookies too much, but is there anybody outside of this top 10 right now that you're looking like people are probably going to get on me that I didn't put him on there?
I don't feel so. I mean, there's some guys out there, but if we're talking about top 10, I don't think so. I think this list is pretty legit all the way, and I don't think anybody can be mad at me except that one person.
Yeah, that's gonna be it's gonna be fun, man. This is gonna be a lot of fun. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go 1 through 5, because honestly, I agree with you. Patrick Surtain is one of the guys that you had on there that I did not have on my list. I feel confident putting that out there right now already. But He's maybe somebody that I could have put on there. I just feel like that 1 year, I feel like everybody else has a little bit more of tape, a little bit more of we know what they are. Patrick Surtain had that 1 year. I don't want to go jump off a bridge, but if you're ready, I'm ready to hop right into it. I think we should do
I'm
one
jumping
through
off that
five.
bridge. I'm jumping.
Yeah, I know. So we're gonna get there. We're gonna definitely get there. So we're gonna go 1 through 5, and then we'll do 5 through 10, obviously, and we'll talk about who we left on. If you want, I'll let you kind of kick it off. I know you have a bevy of notes ready to go. So I'm actually excited for this. If you're being real, I did my research as well, but I know when you come to me with a bunch of pieces of paper ready to go, so I'm excited to hear what you say. But we'll start in the top 2, man. I mean, look, Jair Alexander, Jalen Ramsey, you see that, kind of on the top tier list of everybody. And one thing I will say is when you look up these top 10 lists, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of different opinions. There's a lot of different lists. But like I said, you see these 2 guys up top. I'm putting Jair Alexander above Jalen Ramsey right now,
Tell me why.
Realistically, I'm doing this off of projection, and I'm doing this off of I like what Jalen Ramsey is. Don't get me wrong. Jair Alexander obviously missed, this last year and everything. I just feel like if you look at Jair's numbers, they've been getting better. He's only gotten better, and he's not in a defense that necessarily, I don't want to say, doesn't help him, but I just don't think that the defense is as premier as a Jalen Ramsey defense, even if you look back at the Jacksonville, years. But Jalen Ramsey as an overall career, yes, way better. But if you're asking me who I want next year, I personally probably would say Jair Alexander. And that's a personal preference. I say it's like a 1A, 1B situation. I knew this was going to start a conversation, so I knew, I was like, let me just do this. But I really do believe that Jair Alexander is going to be that next number 1 guy. I really do believe. You see his numbers. Like I said, this year obviously missed a lot of games. But I think next year you'll see it again. I think he'll be right back at a Pro Bowl level, all pro level. So how do you feel about that? I know, obviously that's one of our big differences is Jair versus Jalen. But what were your thoughts?
That's not really a big difference with me. That was kind of like I was debating that one. I'm gonna be honest with you. Maybe I went with a little bit more of the reputation, the playmaking ability.
I respect
not
that.
saying Jair doesn't have that playmaking ability, but with Jalen Ramsey, yeah, he did get toasted a little bit. We saw in the Super Bowl. But we seen Jalen Ramsey. He's been a gambler pretty much his whole career. I mean, that's what he does. That's what he does. So you're going to see some plays where that happens with him. But when I look at the overall bevy, and then when I look at this past season, still had 4 interceptions going on last year. Still, I think only had like a 52 rating against him, completion rating against him. And you got a guy that he's still highly targeted. And I think he only gave a 100-yard game, and I think that was toward the end of the season. So when I look at what Jalen Ramsey has done, really pretty much, I don't want to go like, his whole career and just naturally put him up there. But if you have a situation where you want a guy to get shut down and you want to be able to feel like you can put a guy on an island, I think that's where Jalen Ramsey is. I think you still look at his career and say, hey, you put him on the top receiver, he still has the ability to shut that guy down. And like I said, there wasn't like these were guys that were getting tons of yards against him. The most yards besides that last game against San Francisco was against Seattle with 75. I mean, for more times than not, he handled his business. Well, what I was looking at, he had 59 completion percentage against him, 71 passer rating. But the also thing that stood out to me, what I told you, yards against completions, yards that against him. So 10.8 yards completion against him is very, very good. I think Darius Slay, and I think another person, I think maybe it could have been a Surtain, been around that level. So you got to look at a guy that's been targeted. He's going to get targeted quite a bit. He got targeted 98 times, right? I think one of the highest was Trevin Diggs. So if you're getting targeted that many times and still only giving 10.8 yards a pass, that's pretty daggone good, because if you look at some of the other cornerbacks that it was like 13, 14 yards a game. Jalen Ramsey's still only getting 10 yards a game against him with getting targeted a lot.
Yeah, he definitely does it, and that's the thing. You see in the comments already. People say, "Oh, he got burnt by this person. He got big by." It's gonna happen when you
That
have
was
that,
that.
like
They're
you said,
remembering
that
that. They're
many
remembering that Super
the
Bowl
Super Bowl.
against Jamar Chase. That's what they remember. They ain't remembering nothing else. They're remembering that. That's what it is.
Exactly. It's the recency bias. I mean, look,
Right.
I love both of them. I really do. And like I said, if you ask me who's obviously has the better career, who's got the most votes when it comes to Hall of Fame right now, obviously it's going to be, Jalen Ramsey. But I just like what Jair Alexander is. It's tough to put somebody who missed most of the year last year that high on the list. But I love what he is. Now, next guy that we put on the list is another guy that I feel like, if I'm being 100% honest, you really start diving into his numbers. Had probably a tough year on his standards, in my opinion. Outside of completion rating, completion percentage for the opposing quarterbacks, everything kind of went up. You know what I'm saying? He had more missed tackles, had more yards per target. So like there was a little bit of a fallback when he became that number one guy. But I like JC Jackson. I was pounding the table for the Eagles to get him when he was, in that little hold up or whatever you want to call it, out there in New England. So it's good to see him at number 3. What were your thoughts on JC Jackson? How do you feel about him?
Well, I like JC Jackson too. I like him a lot. One of the things I like about him, he's a big physical corner. He can press you. He can play, encourage how they can move him around. And just like you said, once he the man, people wanted to see, was he really just helped by Stephen Gilmore? Was that what made you good? And then he kind of had to show to himself. But when I look at it, 8 interceptions. Now I will say 6 interceptions weren't against the best. Trevor Lawrence, Sam Darnold, he had 2 against. Zach Wilson, he had 3 against. But the fact of the matter, he's taking the ball away. And if you look at him in the league, he takes the ball away. So you can't get mad at 8 interceptions, whether it's who it is. You get what I'm saying? Because you're still giving your team the opportunity to get the ball back and make plays. Also, I believe he led the league in pass defense at 23. That's pretty daggone good, man. And the passer rating against him was 46.8. He had 58 tackles. That means he'll stick his nose in there. Also, one of the other things I like a cornerback if that guy can stick his nose in there, because it ain't just picking off the ball. You got to be able to make tackles. You got to be able to, when those running backs are coming on that edge, you got to be able to make plays. And I believe Jackson will come up and make tackles. So when I look at that body of work, the interceptions, the 23 pass defenses, which led the league, and said 49 completion percent against him, a 46 passer rating, dog, why aren't you putting him in there? And he definitely that, in my opinion.
Yeah, JC Jackson's a dog. Like I said, I was pounding the table for the Eagles to get him. He was one of those dudes that I felt like went very under, the radar. Like you said, he was across from the former defensive player of the year. So that's people aren't just going to look past that. But he's a great player. Again, everything went up, but it wasn't like a terrible year for him. It just showed, like you said, I think that a lot of teams were trying to figure out if he really was that guy. And I think he answered that call. So 9 interceptions, 9 last year, 8 this year, I believe it was, something like that. Or I might have him flip flop. The dude's a dog. The dude's a dog. But then we go down to.
I mean,
go ahead.
No, I was just saying he's a dog, man. I'm just saying he's a dog. One of his better games of the year was actually against the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, he had 5 tackles, he had 4 pass defense. So, he gave us a lot of fits in that game. So, like I said, I think he's going to be a great addition over to the Chargers. Think they needed that type of guy. And one of the things that, like I said, you want to be able to get interceptions, man. I know you want to be able to shut those guys down, but if you can take the ball away, that is huge. I don't care what anybody tells me. If your cornerback can take the ball away, and that is a threat, every time they throw your way that you can get the ball and make a play, take it back to the house, get the ball back for your offense, and you can come down and score, that is huge in your mind. Yes, you can get the ball. You're keeping a guy on low reception yards. That is great. We love that. But if you can get the turnover and get your team the ball right back and they can score, that is huge. And that's what he does.
I feel like you're building up for the second half of this list.
You know what it is. Yep, it's coming. I'm building. I'm setting it up. I'm building it up.
No, I agree with you, man. I love what JC Jackson is. Now we move to number 4 and number 5. So I have your number 5 at my number 4, and then number 4, and we just disagree on a player. But
Right.
I have Xavier Howard. I have Marlon Humphrey. I think that Xavier. We'll talk about Xavier Howard when you come up for him. But I want to talk
Okay.
about Marlon Humphrey real quick. Marlon Humphrey.
Okay.
Personally, I think that he's obviously missed some games last year as well, but he's been a guy since he came in, has been asked to be that guy, and has just taken the taking it by the reins. He's been that guy for Baltimore for a while now. Again, missed like 5 games last year, so it is what it is. But I just think that a lot of people forget how great Marlon Humphrey really is just because of all the injuries around that defense. That defense was just torn apart. So I think, and again, I looked at this and I was like, what am I going into this year thinking these guys are going to be? You know what I'm saying? Like we can make arguments about who they were last year versus who they, you know what I'm saying? But I just think that going into next year, Marlon Humphrey's going to show that he's one of those dudes again. I think that he's just going to take it. I don't want to say take over, but he's going to be one of those top 5 dudes. I think that you look at the interceptions, you go from 2-3 last 2 years. He hasn't really been able to play a full season. You go down to 1. I think he'll be able to get those interception numbers back up again. Missed tackles, that's a problem. I feel like that's a problem a lot. Once you get over like the 12% range, I get a little bit nervous. You know what I'm saying? Which we'll get into a little bit later because what you're building up, I have to build up a little bit as well. But you know what it is? I knew you would get that one. But no, I like Marlon Humphrey. He's gonna lock down your number 1. He's long, he's lanky, he's the prototypical type cornerback to me. So I had to put him on my top 5. I think he'll be back there. But I like AJ Terrell. I do like AJ Terrell. I'm not gonna hate.
Yeah, I mean, AJ Terrell and Xavier Howard. Now, Bobby Hunt. I mean, I was about to say Bobby Humphrey, Marlon Humphrey, but he just didn't jump in my top 5, and I'll be able to break that down to you why. I feel like when I watch Marlon Humphrey, I like him a lot. Torched up on some games this year. Now we're talking about Jalen Ramsey. He's living off his reputation, things of that nature. Now Marlon Humphrey has been a dog, but I'm going to show you where he had some games where he got turned up, and we remember a game where he got utterly smashed up. So that dropped me down for him because one of the top guys, he didn't have the greatest games.
Yeah, no, I can definitely agree with that. I look at this defense that the Ravens had last year. I felt like every week I was hearing a different injury for them. I know it's part of the game, but I think that it affects him as well, so it is what it is. We'll see what happens. I think that we can both agree he's in the top 10, which I think we do. So
yeah, for sure.
It is what the order is so subjective, and it's the eye test. It's where you're, really looking at it. Like if you're looking, like I said, I'm kind of looking into this next season. There's so many different ways to look at it, but I like Marlon Humphrey, and a lot of different people are saying different things about Marlon Humphrey. So it's interesting. It's an interesting conversation. The craziest part about this, I think there's maybe one guy, and I think it's AJ Terrell, that's in this list that's even on their rookie contract. I don't even want to, I hate to kind of segue, but I want to ask you, do you think that's like going to be, is that a trend? Is that a thing? Do cornerbacks get better as the years go on? Is it more of a mental learning curve for cornerbacks than it is physical, in your opinion? I know you've coached a lot, so in your experience and in your opinion, how do you think that works?
I just think you get better. I mean, I feel like if you really hone and work at your craft, like we're talking about a Pat Surtain, we're talking about AJ Terrell. I feel like once you come in and establish kind of who you are, I feel that builds confidence. Really, it's a lot of mental that goes on with the cornerback position because you got to have a short memory because things are going to happen. Big plays will happen here and there. It's not going to be like you're shutting down a guy every single time those things happen, but you just don't want those things consistently happen. And I believe like the way Patrick Surtain started out this year, I don't feel like this was a young 1-year wonder. I believe we saw that in college. He was hyped up at Alabama, and he came right in and ran to the hype. So I feel like with that, and you got to look at who's his dad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
you think he's going to take a step back after he had this year and he's got his pops dog? No, it's going to get even better, bro. So certain guys, I feel like that already had those kind of things that you're saying. We like him coming out of college, then they come right to the NFL. Because I'll tell you right now, cornerback is one of the hardest positions to come right into the league and turn up and be good. Okay, because you're going through a lot. You're dealing with top receivers. You're dealing with guys, and once that offensive coordinator sees he can get at you, they're going to attack you all freaking game. They will not give up. They will be relentless. We've seen it time and time again. Aaron Rodgers, the Tom Brady's of the world, when they get a young guy and they get in his head and he's playing off a little bit, they go after him dang near every other play. So that's why I feel like if you can come in and establish yourself early, I don't feel like it's going to be a fall off, especially if you were drafted high. You're just basically backing up why you were drafted that way, and it's going to continue to get better. And that's why that certain person is in my list.
And AJ Terrell took a big step forward. AJ took, last year, his rookie year wasn't bad by any means. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't great. Obviously, this year, basically 100% improvement across the board, especially numbers. So it's exciting for guys like him, especially out there in Atlanta. When you look at all the turmoil they're going through, obviously losing your face of your franchise. Now you got guys like Kyle Pitts, you got AJ Terrell, you got guys. Even who did they just draft? Didn't they draft another cornerback? I'm spacing on dude's name.
Me too, but they drafted a couple. They had a pretty decent draft, I think.
Yeah, so it's nice.
So it's looking up. So I think they did the right move by getting rid of Matt Ryan. He wasn't doing anything with them any longer, and it was time to move on. And it was time to get younger, and it was time to usher in a new era with Atlanta. But I feel like if you got an AJ Terrell, that's one of your cornerstones, and he's young, he's just going to get better and better, I feel. And we'll see. And that's the reason why he jumped to my top 5. Just jumping off my list, on my 5th guy, Xavier Howard came in 5th for me. And one of the reasons why he's in there is because, we had talked about, he's an opportunist, man. He gets the ball. I keep that in my head, man. This kid has 27 interceptions since he with Miami. He had 5 last year, this past season, 10 the season before. So one of the things that you really love is that he gets the ball. That is high to me. That means he's giving your team opportunities, okay? And then also, he'll stick his nose in 50 tackles. We like that. We're talking about, let me get my notes here because I did go deep on that. 16 pass defense. I told you, if you are not getting the interceptions, Joe, I still want you to get your hands on the ball. 16 pass defense. So he was in the upper echelon of still knocking the ball down, even though he wasn't getting the interception. Now, he had 52 completion percentage against him. If you want to keep it in that 50, probably 55 or low range, you want range as far as completion percentage against you, that means how they may catch the pass. We understand that. 72 passer rating against him. I see that. But the biggest thing, like I said, to me was the interceptions. He gets the ball. He knocks the ball down. He had 20 pass defenses last year. So that's a guy who's always getting his hands on the ball, Joe. So if you got a guy like that, and if you got a guy like that, that's a guy I want to have on my team, because anytime you throw their way, there's a chance that my guy is going to get that ball, either knocking it down or getting the interception and giving my offense an opportunity to score points. So he's got to be in there for me in that top 5, and he's been doing it. You see what I'm saying? It's not like the season. The year he got injured, played like 5 games the year before, he had 7 interceptions. That's not easy, Joe. It's not easy to get interceptions in the NFL, man. It's just not.
Especially when you have that reputation, right?
Right, especially, and because people, and it's not like it is nowadays, like it was back in the day. When they had the Deion Sanders, people didn't want to challenge them. These quarterbacks now, it don't matter if you're good; they're going to challenge you and throw that ball after you. So you don't live off that reputation like we watched in the 80s and 90s, where they're like, "Oh, he's just so good, we ain't throwing his way." Yes, they are. They're going to try to throw you against your way, and if they can get at you, no matter how good you are, they're going to continue to do it. And we've seen it time and time again. And we talk about Jalen Ramsey. Did Joe Burrow back off of Jalen Ramsey once they got a few passes on him? No, he went after him. So I don't feel like that's a thing where quarterbacks are just going to stay away from these cornerbacks anymore. And then when we were talking about AJ Terrell, one of the things that stood out to me when I told you about the tackling, 81 tackles. Are you serious? Yeah, 81 tackles. I think he will. If we're looking at all the top 10 cornerbacks that we talked about, he had the most tackles out of every cornerback in there. That's huge to me. Only completed 47% of the passes against him. Huge, 47% rating, 60-point completion percentage, which that's got to get better. He did have the 11 missed tackles. Don't like that. But he had 9 points yards against him as far as pass play. Remember, I told you, if you're keeping that low, that is huge. So even though he doesn't get many interceptions, you're not throwing You're not averaging 12, 13, 14 yards against when you're throwing passes. When you throw the pass to him, he's on you and he's getting you down. So he's in coverage. He's super young. Arrows pointing up. I think he gets even better. And if he can take the ball away even more, I think he's going to stay in that top 5.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I think, it's interesting because you look at guys like that and you look at how like the position is starting a bit. That's going to be kind of the mold, I think is the word I'm looking for. Like he's going to kind of become the mold of what you want your cornerback to look like, moving forward in the future. So it's going to be fun. And to kind of piggyback on Xavier Howard, to me, he's what Trayvon Diggs should become or could become if he, continues to stay aggressive and just gets better at kind of avoiding the big plays over the top and stuff like that. Because if you look at Xavier Howard, things that jump out especially are kind of those yards after the catch, giving up big plays because he is such a aggressive cornerback. But he doesn't give up as much as Trayvon Diggs, so that's why he's a little bit higher. But all slights away, aside, I think that's kind of what you look at Trayvon Diggs and be like, if you can get there, this will be nice. You know what I'm saying? That could be kind of the ceiling for him. Maybe not even the ceiling, but aim for what he could be, a projection, I guess you could say, a projection.
Yeah, and like I said, if you see how he's come in already in his first couple of years, you will say to get even better. And like I said, that's huge to me that he had 81 freaking tackles at the cornerback position. That's big.
Yeah, there's a lot of good cornerbacks in this league. That's one thing I will say that I realized even more after looking at this. So let's just revise this top 5 one more time before we all heck breaks loose. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to everybody in the chat.
Yeah,
first of all. It's about to get kind of ugly in here. We love y'all.
It's about to get we wanted to hurry up and get that top 5 out the way.
Exactly. But shout out to everybody, man. We got 62 people in here. Be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe. Join each family, man. If you're on Big Game James, come on over, join the family. Like vice versa. If you're in my on my channel, definitely going on over to Big Game James and join that family. So we had top 5. Mine was Jair Alexander, Jalen Ramsey, J.C. Jackson, Xavier Howard, and then rounded out by Marlon Humphrey. Big Game James, a little bit different, but, got mostly the same players. Jalen Ramsey at number 1, Jair Alexander, J.C. Jackson, A.J. Terrell, Xavier Howard rounds out his top 5. So I feel confident about that top 5. How are you feeling about your top 5?
I feel good. I don't feel like a lot of people can jump up and go crazy on me because of my top 5. I mean, these guys are established. I feel like I said, you got the young buck and AJ Terrell. I think a lot of people might say, hey, man, you putting it up there too. I don't believe so. If you look at a lot of other publications, they like that too. And like I said, Xavier Howard has been doing it. He's been a guy that's been consistent in this league. And then, like I said, J.C. Jackson just got the nice contract over with the Chargers and 23 pass defense. You can't get away from that, man. That's huge.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big fact. That's a big fact. It's going to be exciting because I usually don't do these lists. You know what I'm saying? I usually don't like to give people enough rope to hang me with, and I think that's what these lists do sometimes. So, this is going to be fun to see how this all pans out. So now this is where it gets fun. All right. We get to 6 through 10. We get to 6 through 10. I gave you an asterisk at the bottom so people could at least see that. You know what I'm saying? As they come in and out.
I appreciate that. So
we'll start with yours. We'll start, actually, we'll start with mine because I know you got some things you want to get off your chest. So I'm going to start with mine. We'll go 6 through 10. Denzel Ward, I got at number 6. I think that you can make an argument for him to be in top 5. There were some stats that, obviously jumped out at me. Hold on, I wanted to pull something up real quick because I did want to look at this. His percentage of missed tackles. That's what you look at the number and that was something that really jumped out at me. You look at the number, whether it's 5, 10, whatever the number is, but the percentage of it is, to me, that's telling me the amount of times that you're getting your head in there. This is how many times you're missing. You know what I'm saying? So when I look at him, I feel like he misses his tackles a lot. The number of tackles may have gone down. The number of actual missed tackles have gone down, but his number outside of 2019 has stood around 15%. And that's not a good thing to me. When you're that number 1 guy, we expect you to be a little bit more hard-nosed. And you're on a defense that's pretty darn good. You're on a defense that allows you to get a lot of times you look at this secondary and you can kind of cover up or mask a lot of deficiencies with your secondary when you have a very good front seven. I feel like they have a good front seven, and I still feel like he kind of gets exposed sometimes. So I like Denzel Ward again. Like I said, you can make an argument maybe top 5, but I put him at number 6. This is where we get in my bag. We get into our feelings a little bit maybe, but I got Darius Slay at number 7. I have Darius Slay at number 7. Now, Joe, why do you have Darius Slay at number 7? I'm gonna read off some names for you. Okay, I'm gonna read off some names for you.
Read it off.
People, everybody, screenshot my list
because I ain't hating.
I'm gonna read off some names.
I ain't hating.
Calvin Ridley, Kenny Galladay twice, right? Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, Antonio Brown, DJ Moore, Tyreek Hill, all under 20 yards going against Darius Slay last year. That's all against Darius Slay, right? First in defensive touchdowns, third in coverage grade, only 28.8 yards allowed per game while traveling with the opposing wide receiver number 1. This is Darius Slay's, I want to say like 9th year. Don't quote me on that, but he's only gotten better. I feel like in a defense that was void of a cornerback number 2 at sometimes, devoid of a real solid safety duo, void of a front 7 at most of the times. We were bottom 3 in sacks last year. You were still able to go out there and make a big impact on defense. So for me, like I said, I'm looking into next year, right? I did say that. I'm going into next year and who I want to come with me, right? Darius Slay is one of those guys I want to come with me. I feel like you've only gotten better. And now if you look at his situation in Philadelphia, we finally gave you a guy on this other side of you that is going to be above average. I won't say that he's going to be great, but he's going to be above average. You finally have a safety duo that's not terrible. You have a very good front 7. So I think that only up for him. So I have him at number 7. That's what, and I think that that's fair. And then I have AJ Terrell. We talked a lot about AJ Terrell. It was kind of because of the big jump. You know what I'm saying? That's my biggest thing with AJ Terrell is that like
you was hating because he's young.
A little bit, baby.
Yep.
You can say that. I mean, realistically, for me, it was like just a huge jump. I don't know. I want to see a little bit more consistency before I really put him in my top 5.
But it was just a big jump. But he wasn't bad as rookie.
He wasn't bad, but he went like I think top 10 is fair for like if I just went off his. I think just off his first year. No, you got it. But I think if you basing it off his first year and then you average it out with his second year, I think he's right there in the top 10. If he has another year like he did this year, then I'm definitely gonna be like, all right, I look stupid. He should have been in my top 5. But for right now, I got him there. And then Tre'Davious White, I know people are probably going to dog me for that, but I got Tre'Davious White at number 9. I think he's been a dog. He's missed some time. He's not. I thought he was a lot older because I felt like he's been that guy for so long. It felt like he was a lot older than. Yeah, he does look old too. But he's been that guy for so long. You know what I'm saying? It feels like for the past, half a decade, you've been talking about Tre'Davious White as one of those number 1s. So I had to throw him in that number 9. And then I gave you your flowers, man. We agreed on Trayvon Diggs.
I thought you was
and I was. I told you so bad. Yeah, bro, you like a brother to me. You like family to me, right? And I had to tell you before we got on the show. For full disclosure for everybody, I had to message him yesterday and send him the pictures of the actual list. Usually I don't. And I was just like, you don't know how bad I wanted to keep Darius Slay or keep Trayvon Diggs off of my list.
Look at him. See, you were saying
I was bad, man. I was in my bag. I was in my bag. But I will say this before I know you probably have a whole spiel about, Trayvon Diggs, but I will say this. Look, Trayvon Diggs went out there and did something that is very, very hard to do. And that is go out there and get double-digit interceptions. And he did it on a very good defense, which is even harder to do, in my opinion. When you have a lot of mouths to feed on a defense and a lot of guys that can put up numbers, it's hard for you to, really be that one guy that stands out. He was able to do that alongside, obviously, Micah Parsons. But I loved what he did if he wasn't in a Cowboys uniform. So I can't hate on him. I really can't say he's not top 10. If he's able to produce a similar type of year while bringing down that number of yards allowed, then we're talking Xavier Howard. Like I said, and that's why I kind of wanted to bring that up, because that is where he could get to. He
Yeah,
could
I
be
agree.
that. But right now, I don't believe he is. So I had to put him at number 10. But you know, the world wants to know. And if the world doesn't, I at least want to know. Talk to me, James. Talk to me. Talk to me about your list, brother. Talk to me about your list, because you know I'm upset.
Okay.
You know I'm upset right now.
I know you upset. I know you upset. I'm sure you are upset. But here it is, man. Okay, first, so I went with 6 with Tre'Davious Ward. Tre'Davious White. One of the things I want to pull out about Tre'Davious White is that he played 12 games, so he didn't play a full 16 games. I believe he tore his ACL, or I believe he's rehabbing from that. He didn't play a full 16 games, so you keep your eye on that. But one of the things I looked at with Tre'Davious, when I went through his, the highest receiver yards against him was 52 in Buffalo. Nobody else had over 52 yards against him the whole season. That's devastating. Completion percentage against him, only 51%. Like you said, he's been doing it. Passer rating against him, 59.9. Still been doing it, 41 tackles. Now, the thing that you said that I didn't like as well is the missed tackle thing. He had 19.6%. That's not good.
Yeah.
That's a lot of missed tackles. So that kind of is Larry. And then he didn't have a lot of interceptions, but he is a guy that can get his hands on the ball. But once again, you had nobody getting close to getting over 60 yards against him this season. I want to pull up a few other things about Tre'Davious White. What was I was like? Didn't allow to over and in 12 games, bro, 328 total yards. That's damn good. He only allowed 328 total yards and 12 games, bro. And like you said, he seems like he has been in the league forever. But you know why? Because he's been doing it every single year, and that's why he's got to be in there. Because he's just a sticky corner. He gets his hands on the ball. I would like to see his pass defense go up a little bit more. But I think it will. He's a guy that's sticky, and he's a guy that's ultra uber aggressive at the line of scrimmage. He will get physical with you. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but he plays real physical at the line of scrimmage, and that's why I like him. And I think he's going to always, until he kind of goes, he's just kind of going to be that guy. You know what I mean? That you just talk about year in and year out. He's just a guy that's steady for you, and that's what I believe White brings to the table. Now, we're going to my number 7 guy. You brought up Denzel Ward, and you talked about the missed tackles. Yeah, I seen that missed tackle thing. But one of the things I want to show you when I put my notes on Mr. Denzel Ward, as I get them right here. Where you at, Denzel? Where you at? Okay. 43 tackles, right? 10 pass defense, 60 completion percentage, 76 rating. I didn't like that, but he only gave up 9.3 yards per pass play. I like that. 3 interceptions. That means he gets his hand on the ball. But then I want to bring up something to you, Joe, that I was looking at. Remember I told you, let me see who he was going against. Patrick Mahomes, 4-6, 37 yards, no touchdowns. Kirk Cousins, 3-7, 44 yards, 1 touchdown. Kyler Murray, 3-4, 17 yards, no touchdowns. Cincinnati, Joe Burrow, 1-4, 11 yards, no touchdowns. Green Bay, 4-8, 57 yards, no touchdowns. That stands out to me. You went against quarterbacks, okay? You didn't go against all bums the whole year, and it wasn't like they weren't trying to go against you. But guess what? They didn't do nothing against you, dog, with these elite quarterbacks. So that stands out in my mind, bro. Remember I told you, it's not just you shutting down people, it's who you shutting down. We can see, like, if you're playing against some rookie quarterbacks, you should get interceptions. You should knock the ball down. They're rookies or the young guys. But when you're going against these established guys who I mentioned that he's playing against on a regular basis, you see his numbers against him. That's why he's got to be in there for me, Joe. Now, I told you he does have to get better, and you're definitely right about what you mentioned about his tackling. He's got to get better than that. But he's good. He's only like 24 years old, and he's got the speed. I like his makeup speed. He can get back down. If you get him beat on the first move, he's got enough makeup speed to play with you on the ball. So I love Denzel Ward, and I got to see him out here in Ohio State. Obviously, I'm out here in Ohio. I get to see him, so I saw him a lot. So I like Denzel Ward. Now, Marlon Humphrey dropped for me in a little bit, and I'm going to tell you a little bit why. Marlon Humphrey's been consistent, man. He's a dog. I like his size. He's a big physical corner. He will get at you. I love how he's sticky. But one of the things I'm going to bring up against Marlon Humphrey, 58 tackles, right? I like the 13 pass defense. 53% completion percentage, but he gave up 665 yards. That stands out to me. 98.6 passer rating against him. That stands out to me. 14.8 yards per pass play against him. That stands out to me. That's why he drops. And then we got to go back to quarterbacks that he went against. And we remember one particular quarterback that torched him really bad, and that's why he really dropped. But let's talk about that. Against Baltimore, against KC, 4-7, 48 yards, touchdown. We saw against Cincinnati, 7 of 10, 227 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Ooh.
That was a torching. Against Minnesota, 7 of 11, 98 yards. So that's almost another 100-yard game. So the times he went against elite quarterbacks this past season, they kind of ate him up this year. So that's why I'm like, Marlon Humphrey, I love you, but you got to drop down a little bit, because when you went against those elite guys, they kind of got after you. So, and one of the things about Marlon Humphrey is he might be better in the slot sometimes, because he plays really good in the slot. So maybe they may want to see what they're going to do with that. But that kind of stands out to me for him dropping at 8. Now, let me get to my young pups right here. Number 9, like they say, Rondo, number 9, Pat Surtain. People say, why you put him in here, bro? He a rookie. He only played 1 year. Other guys been out here doing this and doing that. Well, you know what? I don't care. I'm going against the grain, and let me pull it. Where you at, Pat Surtain? Let me pull you, because you came in ballyhooed, right? Ballyhooed. They said, this is the guy that you want to get. This is a top 10 corner. He's everything that you want in the corner. He can press. He can play off. He can get you interceptions. He can do anything, right? So I had to say, okay, let me see that. So let me get my Pat Surtain notes. Where you at, Pat Surtain? There you go, right here. 58 tackles, first of all, right? 14 pass defense, led all rookies, Joe, right? Led all rookies. 4 interceptions, Joe, as a rookie. 1 return for a touchdown, Joe. Only gave up 51 completion percentage, Joe. Gave up only 3 TDs, Joe. And the rookie, 61 passer rating. That's one of the best rated passer ratings against and completion percentages against. And then when I jump over here to look at the teams he played against, okay, he played against the LA Chargers twice a year, right? That's a pretty good quarterback over there that they got in the Chargers, correct? 9 of 20 against him, 75 yards in 2 games, no touchdowns. Hey, he played another good quarterback named Pat Mahomes. 0 for 2, 0 yards, 0 touchdowns. Hey, he went against another quarterback in Joe Burrow, who we all love. 2 of 3, 21 yards, 0 touchdowns. Hey, he went against my team, the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott and those guys. And it was a ballyhoo matchup when they were talking about the CD Lambs against the Pat Surtains. Well, guess what? 1 of 4, 21 yards, no touchdowns.
I know Devontae Smith mossed the heck out of that man. So, I mean, I have him just outside of my top 10. I'm not going to hate, but I do remember that. We were giving him a lot of flowers. I'm just going to say.
But you remember, but here's the thing. You remember that one thing, but you don't remember a lot of things that people were doing to Pat Surtain. Okay. And I don't think he gave up. I think he gave up one receiver was 75 yards was the most yardage he gave up to one receiver the whole year as a rookie, Joe. As a rookie coming in, and people were going to come after him. It wasn't like Denver's secondary was great up on the opposite side. They were putting a lot of pressure on him to come in and be the man. And did he fall off? Did he back down? No, he came in and killed it. Shout out to my dog, John Jones, for the $5 holler. Appreciate you, bro. But he did everything that everybody has said this guy can do. So why would I feel that this trajectory would go down? We just talked about it. You got your dad as Pat Surtain. You act like people think that this dude is going to fall off from this. No, he's going to get even better. And he already got, like I said, 4 interceptions, and he's the prototypical size at 6'2". He's a big corner and can play multiple things. So that's why the youngster, I'm not hating on the young guy. Pat Surtain is in there. And we about to hit number 10 because I seen some of my Cowboys fans. Like, he should have been higher. He shouldn't have been higher. No, he shouldn't have been higher because a lot of people didn't want to put him in that top 10 because of those certain things, because he's still growing in his position. But let me break down Trevin Diggs. And I'm going to tell you first thing about Trevin Diggs, Joe. I personally, when he got drafted from the Dallas Cowboys, I mocked him personally. I was all over this guy, Trevin Diggs, because I saw what he could be. Because he's still a baby at this position, Joe. This is what you got to see. When we were talking about him and Darius, like, he's still a baby at this position. I told you, he wasn't a full-time starter at corner until his senior season. He was a receiver his first couple of years, and then he got hurt. So he's still learning this, dog. So you're talking about 1 year. He had a full-time at the cornerback position at Alabama. He comes in only 2 years and has 14 interceptions in 2 years. And let's remember, folks, his rookie year, he dropped 2. He should have had 5 to 6 his rookie year after the 3. So really, he should even have it more because he gets his hands on the ball. But let's talk about Trevin Diggs right quick. 52 tackles. Let's jump out there and say 21 pass defense. Excuse me. 21 pass defense. I'll say that again.
That's because everybody was going after him.
It doesn't matter. You can go after him, but he's knocking the ball down. He's getting his hands on the ball. He's still being in there. And that was, I believe, second in the league behind J.C. Jackson. So when we talk about J.C. Jackson having 23 pass defense, Trevin Diggs was right behind him. And here's the thing. They're attacking him because we see he gives up yards. But I think one of the reasons why he does give up yards, and I will say this is the reason why these are some of the things he needs to work on. Because when he came out of college, I said, he needs to get better at press coverage, getting his hands and redirecting the receivers. I talked to George T. Alabama. He was in full agreement on me when I gave my initial breakdown on Trevin Diggs. And I said, I don't like how he tries to do trail technique where he doesn't get his hands on the receiver and he's just trying to watch where the receiver goes. And then the receiver can hit him with a quick move. A lot of people said that double move, and then it gets kind of lost because he should find out where that ball is. So he's looking at that receiver, but he's trying to get the ball. I think that's the biggest thing when people are knocking against him because, bro, when you look at Trevin Diggs, he looks like a receiver playing cornerback for real. He really does look like a receiver playing corner. He's 6'2", his strides, the way he plays. So I think what the way Cowboys do it is they kind of let him freedom. So they give him kind of that freedom to kind of do what he wants. So I think he needs to get more discipline in that. He needs to get more physical at the line to be able to redirect these receivers. And I believe that can shut down those yardages against him because since he lets a lot of them have a free release, it's easier for those receivers to get those moves on him because he's not getting his hands on them and be able to redirect them. And I believe that's one of the reasons why he gave up those yards this season. And everybody said, 1,000 yards. I'm going by Pro Football Focus, not Pro Football Focus, but Pro Football Reference and other than it was 907 yards. Two other sites, 907, not 1,000. So I'm not saying that. And then, come on, dog, you just mentioned it. 11 interceptions, bro. Seriously? How can you not keep a guy on here? You're going to get in the top 10 for me. 11 interceptions. You went out there and tied Everson Wall's record that's been how long in Dallas? And you came in your second year and hit that? And are we going to sit there and say the arrow is pointing down with Trevin Diggs now? No, the arrow's still pointing up. This kid is a baby. He's still learning these things, Joe.
But what else can he do? I mean, at this point, he has to be amazing in coverage, right? Like that's the only thing that's really holding him back. So if he doesn't do that, does it feel like he's not, getting better? Like, how does he get better? Right? You know what I'm saying?
I think, like I said, I think he has to get better at tackling. He does tackle, like I said, but sometimes he comes with his shoulder. He doesn't like to wrap up. He just tries to throw his shoulder in and put his head down. I don't like that. He has to get better with that in that aspect. But like you said, he got targeted a high amount of times. I think he had over 100 targets against him, 103 targets, I believe. That's a high amount of targets. And still to only have a 55.8 passer rating against him on 103 targets is pretty damn good. To still only have 52.4 completion percentage against him is still pretty good. The problem is what we talked about, the yards given up and then the yards per game average was 16.8. Not good. That's really bad. That's where that's got to really tighten up. And if he can tighten it, get it down to where we're talking about, Joe, in that 10, 12 range or even lower, then you're feeling really good about what Trevin Diggs. But you can't tell me the arrow's not pointing up and you cannot put – people are saying, I'm not putting Trevin Diggs in that top 10. How can you not, dog? That you can't tell me this dude is not going to continue to be playmaker, get his hands on the ball. Now, he may not get 11 interceptions every year. Who does? But if you're getting around that 4 to 5 interceptions kind of consistently and you're a playmaking corner, you're a ball hawk, you give the ball back to your team, and that's what I like.
Yeah, it hurt me putting him on this list. But you did tell me that there was a good reason. You told me there was a good reason why Mr. Derek, let's look at the asterisk real quick. We're gonna look at the asterisk one more time. So the asterisk does have Darius Slay, who I have at number 7. You have him at number 11. I want to hear why. I think all of Philadelphia right now wants to know why. So the floor is yours. I'm not gonna get all. I'm not gonna do what everybody expects me to do. I'm not gonna get all crazy. Just want to know why. I just want to know why. So, what was your thought process
Okay, all right.
with that?
Okay, so here's the thing with Darius Slay. I'm not hating on Darius Slay. I like Darius Slay. He's a very good corner. Okay, if we're talking about if he's a better overall corner between him and Diggs, I will say he has more tools, more toolbox in it. Say overall, but here's the thing. What I want to show you though. Okay, in this game, he had. Let me this past season, and I'm looking at it right now. I'm gonna put it up because I want to break all this down for you, big dog. Okay, here it is.
Oh yeah, no, I got nothing but time, brother.
So when we're comparing these when we comparing these numbers, remember Diggs on his on the targets that he had. He had 103 targets. Darius Slay had targets. Darius Slay 58 completion percent. Him. Trevin Diggs 52. Passer rating against Darius Slay was what was his passer rating against? It was higher than Trevin Diggs. I believe it was in the 70s. So he had a higher passer rating against him. Yes.
74.4.
Yeah, 74 points. So that's a higher passer rating. And then one of the things that stood out to me, now remember I told you I like that he only gave up 10.7 yards per catch, which is damn good, okay? But one of the things that stood out to me, Joe, now remember I told you about the quarterbacks that he played against? Numbers are a little bit skewed about the yards given up, and he still gave up
definitely
535 yards. But let me tell you who he did is he had 2 games against this, bro. And it was 0 for 6 completion percent against him against the Giants. Who is that quarterback?
Yeah, I get it. Kenny Galladay was the victim, but I get it.
But who was the quarterback?
Okay, I feel you. I feel you.
Him 2 games where they didn't get no yards against him, and then went against New Orleans, and he only had 9 yards completed against him. Taysom Hill, he doesn't throw the ball.
Yeah.
Them numbers are skewed right there. So those 3 games right there stand out to me because those 2 games, no yards against, and then Taysom Hill, 9 yards against. So you still gave up 535 yards. You get 3 games where you played as quarterbacks, okay? And then guess what? You went against Dallas, and yeah, you may have shut down things, but it was 5 or 6 for 40 yards. You gave up 2 touchdowns in that game, though. You gave up 2 touchdowns in that game.
Technically,
you played against
depending on who you. Depending on
it don't matter. It was
against
on that. It don't matter. This is right here. This is across the board. Touchdowns against Darius Slay boys 2 across the board everywhere.
I respect it. But we're ignoring Calvin Ridley. We're ignoring Keenan Allen, Antonio Brown, DJ Moore, Tyreek Hill. Those guys got good quarterbacks. Just to play devil's advocate, realistically, James, I'm gonna be 100%. I'm gonna be 100% honest with you.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't think, and I think a lot of people in the comments will agree with this. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I don't think that you're wrong in having Darius Slay outside of it. But this is going to be the point of contention I had to make. So, what I'm saying? But realistically, I get what you're saying with Darius Slay. I really do. Especially last year, we had a very easy schedule on the surface, and this year we're going to have especially if we do better this year, especially if Darius Slay does better this year, you're going to have the same talking points that you do right now because our schedule again is light. So I get what you're saying, but there's some guys on here that he definitely went out there, went toe to toe with and locked them up. And like I said, had nobody around him. We can look at, the guys in this top 5. You look at Jalen Ramsey's defense around him. You look at J.C. Jackson's defense around him, Xavier Howard's defense around him. That's really where it kind of ends. But Trayvon Diggs, Tre'Davious White, these guys have great defenses around him. And I feel like Darius Slay was able to do what he did, have one of his best years. I'll say that. He had one of his best years on a pretty bad defense. So I don't know. I guess it depends on how you weigh that. But go ahead. I'm sorry I cut you off there.
Oh, no, you didn't cut me off at all. I love hearing what you're saying. But, just going back to that, you said went against Tyreek Hill. I mean, 5 of 7, 64 yards. I mean, when people were hating on Trevin Diggs, they were like, well, he's giving up 60 yards and 70 yards and 80 yards here. He didn't have a 100-yard receiver. Trevin Diggs didn't have a 100-yard receiver against him. And if you've seen a couple of those games that Trevin Diggs had, when they're talking about him, those were obviously blown coverages, and they weren't just Trevin Diggs. And I seen 2 completions that were touchdowns, one in the Denver game, and I believe one was the Washington game. He was right there. His hand was literally in the breadbasket. It was just a great pass. So it wasn't like when Trevin Diggs was getting beat on any of those long touchdowns, it wasn't like he was lost in 4 or 5 yards behind. The dude was right there in the coverage, okay? And then, as I said before, you can't do that. I mean, he played against a pretty good quarterback with the Chargers, right? 5 of 8, 86 yards, 1 touchdown. There wasn't a great quarterback in Washington, 5 of 8, 96 yards, no touchdown. But what I'm saying is you can still get at him. He's older now. So I'll take that in consideration as well, because he can't do some of the things probably maybe these younger guys can, so he might be a little protected. So we'll see this year. He's got another guy on the opposite side of him. We'll see. I'm not saying Darius Slay is a bum, not at all, because he's in my top 11. But when I look at that, somebody said you can't use that argument. Dallas played the Giants too. But guess what? When I'm saying these numbers are skewed, you're playing against, I like to see when you're playing against them top quarterbacks, what are you doing against them? And playing against guys like those quarterbacks, I feel like you should be shutting down those type of quarterbacks. You should get those type of numbers. And you still gave up 535 yards. And let's say if you had a different quarterback playing them Giants, I think they could have got at you too. And I think that yardage would have been up. So we'll see. But to me, that's why it's going to be right there. Sorry, it's Darius Slay. I'm not hating on you. I think you're a very good corner, and you've been a dog in this league for a very long time. But right now, going to have to be at that top 10 just for me.
Darius Slay is better than y'all heard him though. He said at least Darius Slay is better than Trayvon Diggs. That's why you dropped a lot of gems right there, but we're way too close to football season for me to not take that one bite out of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you said a great, but you said Trayvon Diggs is worse.
Don't you just be trying to take that bite now. Don't you do that.
That's what the media does now, right? But no, I agree with you. Look, I think that, and I'm going to pull it up one more time. I think that you can make the argument for either one. I think Patrick Surtain would probably, I didn't go as far as 11, 12, 13 in my mind. I kind of did. But as far as like sitting there and really, really wanting to sit down and research it, I probably would have had Pat Surtain right there, if not number 11, number 12. So it really becomes on preference right here. I like Trayvon Diggs. I don't like Trayvon Diggs, but I like what he is as a
you
player.
Told the truth. You told the truth. Just tell the truth.
I had too much coffee. That's what it is. I'm saying crazy things.
I didn't say I didn't like Darius Slay though. See, that's the thing though. See,
it's hard not to like him.
And here's the thing: if I would have took Patrick Surtain in there, then he would have cracked the top 10. Let's put it like that, because he was 11.
Yeah.
So Eagles fans, you can't really get mad at me because I put a youngster in there. You get what I mean? And a lot of people didn't put a Pat Surtain. If you look at a lot of people's lists out there, they didn't put Pat Surtain in their top 10 because just like what you were talking about, Big Dog, is that you only had 1 year, man. Hey, we ain't jumping out there that far and doing all that. You know what I mean? But you know what? I just feel like when you look at the trajectory and look at his kind of pedigree with the father and things of that nature, I feel like it's going to continue to get better. But if I didn't put that rookie or the youngster in there at Pat Surtain, it probably would have flip-flopped. I would have moved Diggs up to 9, and I had Darius Slay at 10. So Eagles fans can't get too mad at me because he would have been in there if you didn't have that young buck Pat Surtain that I really like.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, and I will say it again. I feel that we were both kind of doing it off of projection. I think that we had different sets of terms as far as projection went, because with me, I'm looking at Darius, and I know we looked at a lot of young guys as well, and Darius Slay is kind of the father time of the group. I think he's the oldest person on this list, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. I think he's like 31 years. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the oldest. So I mean, when you put that into context, I looked at the projection of Darius Slay finally having teammates. I think that he had 1 year with the Lions that he actually had, a good defense around him, and he had one of his better years. And I think that something like that can happen again. Somebody did say that, and now I lost the comment, but somebody did say that Darius Slay had one of his worst years this past year. You could have fooled me. There were look. I just
that's not.
You could have fooled me.
That's just kind of. I just
look at
that.
Yeah, I look at when you're able to actually help your secondary out, it goes a long way. It really does. If your front seven, and I'm talking Cowboys, if the Cowboys front seven wasn't as disruptive as they were, people like Trayvon Diggs would not be able to be what Trayvon Diggs was. He was allowed to do that because he knew he had some dogs up front too, so he took a little bit more risks. We didn't have that. Slay had to be everything. He had to be the safety over top. He had to be the cornerback, and he had to be the linebacker sometimes. So it was he was asked to be, he was asked to be a lot. So it is what it is. We'll see
Well,
what
like I
happens. He
said,
said
it ain't it,
statistically.
it like I said, he was right there, and I hear a lot of people saying, "Ain't no way that you're gonna have Pat Surtain." Listen, this is the thing. This is my list. You got
Yeah.
it, my list. This ain't none of your
Facts.
list, and please don't be mad at how I'm saying it. This ain't your list. This ain't Pro Football Focus list. This ain't Sporting News list. This is Big Game James list. And I like Pat Surtain, so I'm putting him in my top 10. And I
I
don't give a
respect
hell
it.
what anybody thinks. He's going to be number
Got
9
it.
for me. And I guess what? Surtain, listen to this podcast and go ahead and do it 2 years in a row so you can validate what the hell I just said about you, because it's going to happen. So I don't care what anybody say about me not putting Pat Surtain in my top 10, because he's there. He's going to stay there. And that's the way it is.
Yeah, it's more the Darius life for me. Looking at it and realizing that he is the oldest person on my list, that's kind of crazy. I didn't even think of that. But that shows you, man, he's aging like fine wine. He really is. Darius Slay is going to go crazy this year. Trayvon Diggs, I think he's gonna, we'll see what happens. I'm not even gonna sit here and hate on him. I want to, but I'm not gonna sit here and hate on him. It is what it is. But like you said, these are our lists. These are just our opinions. It is what it is. If you guys have an opinion, if you guys have a list, we welcome them. Please,
Yeah.
DM me, DM James on Instagram, Twitter, wherever we are, wherever you follow us. Hit us up. Send us your list. We would love to go over your list. We would love to read, your guys' stuff, whatever you guys are thinking, whether it's the quarterback list, whether it's this cornerbacks list. Let us know, man. We really go off of you guys. So whatever you guys want to talk about, we're more than willing to talk about. Let's go over this list one last time. You know what I'm saying? That hour went quick. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't realize.
Yeah, because we was all up in this one. So that time go quick when you're having fun. You feel me? Time go quick.
Exactly. So again, I'll read off my 5. I'll let you read off your 5 if you have any last words about your top 5. But I got Jair Alexander, Jalen Ramsey, J.C. Jackson, Xavier Howard, and then Marlon Humphrey. If I'm being honest, if I went back and did this again, I might move Marlon Humphrey a little bit down because he did kind
you
of.
off that ledge.
Yeah,
Tossed you off that ledge a little bit, huh?
you definitely did. You definitely did. After listening, I was like, oh, maybe he can go down a smidgen. Maybe throw AJ Terrell up there a little bit more. But yeah, I like my top 5. I'm not mad at it. Like I said, I like Jair Alexander with the projection of him will be. I know the biggest gripe with people is going to be the time he missed. I'm cool with that. Let's have that smoke. Let's have that talk. But yeah, I'm cool with my top 5 list. I'm cool. So how are you feeling about yours? You want to go over yours?
I mean, I'm cool with mine. I think the only thing where I could probably, maybe flip flop with Jalen Ramsey, because he did get exposed a little bit, but that was not really exposure. He just had, kind of everybody has kind of a bad game. I think if you more times than not, you say Jalen Ramsey can bang on a lot of those matchups. And then obviously a lot of, like you said, a lot of people would say Jair Alexander only played 4 games. So why is he in there? Because you got to kind of look at that body of work. And you can't sit there and say, if we're talking about top 10 corners right now, Jair Alexander, since what he's done, and he's still young, is not in there. So even though he didn't play a full season, you got to put him in there because he had one of the best years in 2020, the year before. J.C. Jackson, we both agreed on him being 3. We felt good about that. The pass defense, the interceptions, we feel good. AJ Terrell, he was in my top 5. Obviously, he was not in yours. But, I understand what you're coming from, that, the young guys, you want to get more body of work. You just don't want to say, oh, he just did this 1 year, and now we're going to crown him. I understand that. I totally do. But this is his second year. And from his first year to his second year, his first year was not bad. And then to come back his second year and do even better, that's why I got to throw him. That's why I got to look at the trajectory of, like, this kid is going to continue to get even better. And then when we talk about Xavier Howard, I think I like ball hawks. I like playmakers. 15 interceptions in the last 2 years, 27 interceptions in his whole career at Miami. He's a guy who puts his hands on the ball, always getting a high pass defense, had 16, had 20 the year prior. I like that. And so he's going to be in there. If somebody can always get their hands on the ball and get your offense the opportunity, you're going to be high up there for me.
Yeah, I respect it. I like your top five. Like I said, I might have moved AJ Terrell up a little bit more uh, in hindsight, but hindsight is 2020. That's why we do these lists. Now, 6 through 10, 6 through 10. Again, I don't feel. Yeah, you go back to the quarterback list. You go back to even our prediction. We're not far off as far as who we have in it. It's just maybe different numbers. So I have Denzel Ward at number 6, Darius Slay at number 7, AJ Terrell at number 8, Tre'Davious White at number 9, and then your boy Trayvon Diggs, give up Biggs plays. Big play, give up big play Diggs.
Cut it out. Cut it out.
Trayvon Diggs at number 10.
But it gets big interceptions, and he did return 2 for touchdowns. So he did do one of those against your quarterback when the game meant something, right? Because we can't say that second game meant anything, but in that game that meant something when he went against you guys, he turned up a little bit, didn't he? Matter of fact, his first 2 years, didn't he play against Carson Wentz the year before, and he turned up?
Yeah, and he got 2 interceptions, I think,
2
throughout
interceptions
the season.
I
don't know if it was the game. Was it the game?
Yeah, he got 4 interceptions against y'all since he's been in 2 years. Well, so what are we talking about here, Eagles fans?
We'll see. Hey, he's in my top 10 for now. He's in my top 10 for now. We'll see what happens.
Make sure y'all Eagles fans know that. No hating. Just make sure y'all Eagles fans know he got 4 picks against y'all already. Now you can go ahead.
We'll see what happens. It's gonna be fun. This season's gonna be fun. But I probably would, if I'm being real, if I had to change anything, which I probably wouldn't. Maybe an AJ Terrell moves up. Tre'Davious White is probably the person I would actually move up. But I'm cool with this. I'm okay with my bottom 5. I really have no issue with that. And you could go over yours.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be first to tell you, I don't even hate on you bottom 5. You know, I think it's still a very good list, and we already discussed why about the Darius Slay thing. But you know, I feel good about my list as well. 6 of Tre'Davious White. You know, he missed some games with the injury, so we'll see about that. But as I said before, in 12 games, he only gave up 338 yards, and there wasn't a receiver that got over 60 yards against him. He got to be in there. Like I said, Denzel Ward. I told you about when he went against those top dog quarterbacks. He played very daggone well good. I think the main thing that he just needs to work on, just like you said, the missed tackles. He gets those missed tackles. Man, that dude is a beast. And he's, like I said, I think he's only like 24 years old. So I feel good about Denzel Ward. Marlon Humphrey, I felt like the only reason why, like I said, he dropped down for me was because, you know, he went against some guys and they kind of got at him this year. And I think that's one of the reasons why he dropped down. We talked about those numbers that I explained to you early in the show. Go back and check those. I'm not going to go over those again, but you can hear what I said. High passer rating against him. Yards per game was high this year. Had some monster games against him this past season, especially Joe Burrow, what he did to him. So that's why he dropped down. But I think Marlon Humphrey can bounce back because I believe after that game, Joe, against the Bengals, one thing I liked about Humphrey was after that game against Bengals, he came on Twitter and said, I played like trash. I played like crap. I'm going to get better. This is going to get better. I respect the hell out of that he can say, yeah, I played garbage. I got ate up, but it's not going to happen again. So I respected that. And then the youngster, Pat Surtain, for all the people that said he shouldn't be in there, yeah, just go look at the quarterbacks that he went against and how he shut down the Pat Mahomes, the Joe Burrows, the Dak Prescotts. You feel me? Those type of guys had great games against them. Had no receiver get 100 yards a game against him. Had 4 interceptions, one return for a touchdown. How can you not tell me? And the completion percentage was only 52. The passer rating against was only like 58. How can you sit there and tell me that this is going to regress and not get better? Don't believe it. And then I feel great about my Trevin Diggs. You know, and I think, like I said, the only reason why he's 10 and not higher with me is because he did give up the yards. There was a lot of games where there was an 84-yard game or a 70-yard game or a 75-yard game or possibly 90. He had a lot of those games that was happening with him. So that's the thing that dropped him down for me and not being higher on this list. And I feel like he does got to get better in the tackling aspect. Get a little more physical at the line of scrimmage with the getting his hand on the receiver and be able to redirect. But 11 interceptions, bro. 2 return for touchdowns, 14 interceptions in 2 years, and dropped like 3 his first year. This dude is an opportunistic ball hawk playmaker. And you can never tell me no one does not want playmakers and ball hawks who are on their team. You can't tell me, Joe, that if you had a corner that could get 11 interceptions for you last year, you ain't taking that, bro.
Oh yeah, definitely. Everybody, interception turnovers in general are gold, right? Especially in this NFL. If you can get the ball from that offense, give your offense another opportunity. That's gold. That's what the coaches, try to hammer into your mind, man. Especially, it's nice. We'll see what happens. We'll see if he can continue that. That's the biggest thing with me. We'll see if he can get those, numbers down as far as giving up yards, and we'll see what he becomes. I did say that I think that an Xavier Howard is a nice little comparison
I
to
like
what he
that.
could become, right? Comparison, you like that? But no, to what he could become. So it's interesting. It'll be very interesting, and it's cool to kind of have a front seat to that. Now, people are saying, some other guys. I'm seeing Carlton Davis. Somebody else said some other people, but look, if you guys have different.
Too.
Yeah, Marshawn Lattimore. If you guys have different lists, please, we'll go over them next week. We do have Jake Arthur from the Locked On podcast coming on Tuesday. I said Tuesday around 6:30 to talk about the Colts. So we're going to go deep dive into that, talk about the Colts. So I'm excited about that. Nice little extra episode for everybody of Best of Enemies. But is there anything you want to say before we get out of here, James?
Yeah, I want you to post that comment from Eagles Land.
Where is it at? Eagles has landed.
Eagles has landed. See it?
Where he at?
He gave us a great comment. If it does come up, see if you can find it. He gave a great comment.
Is it newer or older?
Yeah, I believe it might be newer. Basically, what he was saying, and I appreciate it. I can't remember exactly the full words of it, but he said he's grown to really love the show. Says we got great chemistry. He said, hey, even though Big Game James is a Cowboys fan, he's objective and he keeps it real. And I'm not just saying that for me, but I just want to say, in some of my few last words, once again, continue to support this thing, man. This thing has grown leaps and bounds. We just got another great host that he just mentioned from the Colts. This is Joe been killing it, man. Joe been putting this stuff together, man. So, Joe got some things really going on that's going to be really exciting. But, I just want to always say before we get off these shows, man, Joe's a monster. He has created this. He created this and put this thing together. And we just ran with it. It started really small. Wasn't nobody really watching like that, but we ain't care. We just wanted to really get the content out there and have a good time. And now to see how this has grown, I just really love what my dog Joe has brought to the table. Best of Enemies podcast, number one, the name is awesome and great in itself. And then just the combination of what we try to put together for you guys. We're always trying to add new things. And I just want to give my dog Joe Castro a big shout out for really making this thing pop and making it happen. He's the driver of this. I'm on the side of it. We just kicking it, and we just want to continue to make this thing. But listen, Joe is the man, and y'all need to realize that. Go support his channel. Go like, follow, all that, because he got more things going on besides those Eagles, man. This dude is nice. So I just got to give you a lot of flowers right now, bro, because you're a beast.
I appreciate that, man. That's love. That's love. This has been a lot of fun. This is one of I look forward to it, right? Like Sundays are really fun because of this. This is one of those things. Even my girl's like, "Are you James doing the show today?" I'm. This is a lot of fun. It's nice to be able to bring Cowboys and Eagles fans together, right? Like it's dope. It's dope. You guys are breaking the mold of what people think this should be. A lot of people think that this should be just yelling and screaming and nobody getting anything from it. And you guys are, and not just us, you know what I'm saying? Obviously, we're facilitating it. We're opening the chat for the possibility, but you guys are the ones that are actually making it happen. So I appreciate y'all. This has been a lot of fun, to be honest. I never would have thought that it would blow up like it is. And we're only getting started. We are only getting started. So I appreciate everybody for the kind words, man. I see everybody in the comments going crazy now. That's love. That's love.
Hey, I'm going to tell you right now, I appreciate you Eagles fans that say, hey, I like Big Game James on here. Even though you're a Cowboys fan, you solid. I really appreciate that. I take that to heart because you know what? We know how it is. We know how we go at each other between the Cowboys and Eagles. But one thing I wanted to establish from myself, from my point of view, was not to get the Philadelphia Eagles people to hate me, but give me my respect as far as, putting in the work for you guys for this show. And just to see a lot of the comments, I really appreciate that because, like I said, we didn't want to have this show as something that we just argue and yell and scream about. We wanted to have really good, informational, good football talk and be able to open the door as well for the fans and the people in there. So just salutes to everybody in the chat. Continue to support, because we're going to have a real good time. This thing has been awesome, Joe, in this offseason. You feel me?
Yeah.
This has been great. We can only just imagine once this season actually starts, and we're doing this weekly, talking about our teams. And then even when we go head-to-head in our matchups, those shows are going to be off the hook, big dog.
Yeah, especially some of the connections we've already been able to make. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited to get this ride going, man. Like you said, it's kind of like a road trip. We started out, in some small cities, and now it feels like we're really getting there. So I'm excited, man. I'm definitely excited. Boss Cowboy is going ham right now.
He going in,
He's still up. He's like, no, nobody's showing no love to nobody here today. He said, we going in today.
I love it, boss. Shout out to my dog, Boss Cowboys. He got a big, huge interview. Go check out that show with Michael Gilkin. Michaal Gilkin is one of the who's out there for Dallas Cowboys news. I follow him more than anybody else as far as the reporting because he's thorough. He's like the guy to me right now. And big shout out to Boss. He got him, and he had a great show with him. And Boss and OC over there killing it. And just a quick thing said, make sure everybody, since we're already going live, Joe, make sure y'all check out this Tuesday. I believe we're going to be back having the final word. We took a little hiatus. We're getting ready for training camp, so that's coming back. So make sure you jump back on there. That's going back down. Cowboys football, all that good stuff. But man, I just can't help it, Joe. You just a dog, bro. And I love having this show with you. If I'm ever down during the week, I get excited to be able to do this show with you because it takes away that.
Nah, yeah, you are not alone, brother. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So shout out to Boss Cowboy. I'm gonna definitely tap in for that interview now that you know what I'm saying, you troll me, I troll you back. That's how love works. That's how you know what I'm saying. That's family right there. That's how it works.
That's how we do it. Yeah.
But we are about to get out of here, man. We still got about 100 people between all the channels, so be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe, join both family, not either. If you taking one, you taking both. You accept us for all our flaws and all our victories as well. Right. But no, I'm excited for Tuesday. That's gonna be a lot of fun. But other than that, man, I ain't got much to say. I know what it is, man. That's been James. I am Joe, and we are the best of enemies. Peace.
Peace.
We're brothers. We're happy and we're